Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about something that's changing, well, everything. AI is completely rewriting the rules of what it means to have an edge in your career. You know, all those skills that used to be the bedrock of professional success, they're becoming obsolete, fast. So what actually gives you an advantage now? Let's get into it. You know, for the longest time, the game was pretty simple. The advantage went to whoever could write the cleanest prose, read the most books, or knew all the hidden shortcuts in Excel. That was the edge. But that whole era, it's over. AI has basically turned these skills into commodities, available to anyone with a click, as you can see right here. Privilege just doesn't live in that space anymore.
So if the old advantages are gone, where did the new ones go? That's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with why those old skills are fading away. Then we'll define this huge new idea, the meta level. From there, we'll break down the practical skills that actually matter now, things like systems thinking, real expertise, and something you can't program, your own human taste.
All right, first up, when old skills vanish. And the big idea here is that AI has become this incredible equalizer. It's totally leveled the playing field on all those day-to-day tasks that used to separate the pros from the rookies. I mean, really think about it for a second. The advantage isn't about raw speed anymore, right? Who can type 100 words a minute or fly through a spreadsheet without touching the mouse. It's not about who can cram the most information into their head. An AI does all of that, and it does it instantly. The value has moved up a level.
And that brings us to the absolute core of this whole thing. The new privilege is at the meta level. If you remember one thing, make it this. It's a massive shift in focus, away from just doing the work and towards structuring the work.
So what on earth is the meta level? Well, think of it like the blueprint for the work. It's the cognitive architecture behind it all. It's not about banging the nails or laying the bricks. It's about defining the problem we're trying to solve in the first place, organizing the plan of attack, and choosing the right direction. It's the strategy, not the execution.
Okay, so how do we actually operate on this meta level? Well, it all starts with the first two big pillars of this new way of thinking: systems thinking and strategic prompting.
In fact, this whole new meta privilege really boils down to these 5 core skills. We're going to start with systems thinking and strategic prompting. Then we'll get into critical judgment and domain expertise, and we'll finish with taste. These are the skills that will last.
Let's start with systems thinking. Now, this isn't just about solving a problem that's in front of you. It's about having the ability to zoom out and see the entire structure of the problem, all its moving parts. It's about knowing what the actual root of an issue is versus what's just a symptom, a branch growing off of it. And this slide just lays out the shift perfectly. The old way of thinking was just one big block. How do I write an article? But the new, systems-based way of thinking breaks it down. You ask, okay, what are the different building blocks here? Which parts can I hand off to the AI, and where do I absolutely need to inject my own unique, human, lived experience?
Next up is strategic prompting. And listen, this is so much more than just knowing how to write a long, detailed prompt. It's about having a conversation. It's knowing what to ask, yeah, but it's also about knowing when to ask it and how to create a back-and-forth rhythm. The real key is to stop treating AI like a vending machine for answers and start treating it like a thinking partner, one node in your larger system.
This quote just hits the nail on the head. One of the most important and kind of counterintuitive parts of this is knowing when to just stop. Knowing when to step back from the AI and think for yourself, instead of just pushing it to generate more and more words just to fill the page. That pause, that's where the real value gets created.
And that leads us perfectly into our next 2 skills, which are just deeply human. We're talking about expertise and critical judgment. These are the layers of evaluation and real-world experience that, frankly, an AI just can't touch. So what's critical judgment? It's that ability to look at a perfectly written, totally fluent paragraph from an AI and have that little voice in your head say, wait a minute. The facts might be technically correct, but the focus is all wrong. The substance isn't there. It's the crucial skill of telling the difference between something that's just correct on the surface and something that's actually insightful. And this is so important to understand. Without that human evaluative layer, these tools don't just make small mistakes. They can become powerful engines for creating incredibly convincing, beautifully structured misinformation. Your judgment is the only real firewall we have. And then there's domain expertise.
Look, an AI can read every textbook, every article, every manual ever written on a subject, but it has never made a costly mistake on a real project. It's never faced an angry client. It's never had to scrap everything and start over because of a stinging rebuke. True expertise is that friction layer, the messy gap between abstract knowledge and lived reality.
I absolutely love this metaphor. Real expertise gives you the smell of an answer. It's that gut feeling, that intuition that tells you, yeah, this answer is correct in a textbook, but it would be completely wrong for this specific situation with this specific team on this specific day. AI doesn't have that sense of smell.
And that brings us to our final, and maybe the most essentially human skill of them all, your unbeatable human taste. In a world where AI can generate 1,000 options in a second, the final act of choosing what's actually worth keeping becomes the most valuable skill of all.
See, taste isn't just about what you happen to like. When producing ideas and content becomes dirt cheap, the real privilege is in curation. It's the ability to look at 100 good enough options and have the wisdom to pick out the 2 or 3 that are truly great. It's about knowing the difference between a passing trend and a solid foundation.
So when you look at all 5 of these new privileges together, systems thinking, strategic prompting, critical judgment, domain expertise, and taste, they all share one crucial trait. AI can help you with every single one of them. It can be your assistant, but it can't own them. They are and will remain fundamentally and powerfully human.
So what's our job now? What's left for us? Well, turns out it's the most important parts. We're the ones who set the initial strategy and structure the problem. We're the ones who direct the conversation toward a goal that actually matters. And at the end of the day, we're the only ones who can decide what is finally good enough.
And this really just brings it all home. The new privilege has moved. It's not in the frantic, busy work of operations, the typing, the clicking, the executing. It's in the quiet, focused ability to see through all that noise into the underlying system that's making it all run.
The real lasting advantage in this new world of AI, it isn't loud. It's not some flashy new tool or technical trick. It's a way of thinking. And it's sitting right there, quiet, unlit, and unseen, just waiting for you to claim it. Thanks for tuning in.
You see, generative AI is quietly creating this new social order, and it's sorting us into 3 very distinct groups. And it's not based on what we do, but on how we think. And this quote just absolutely nails it, right? The first real battleground of this AI revolution, it isn't the factory floor, it's not the office cubicle, it's the space between your ears. It's a cognitive sorting process, and it's creating 3 new kinds of professionals. So let's break them down.
All right, so first up, we've got the thinkers. Now, these are the visionaries, right? The strategists, the folks who have always been a step ahead. Their minds just buzzing with brilliant ideas. And for them, generative AI isn't a threat. No way. It is a liberation.
You totally know these people. I mean, think about the product manager with that perfect roadmap who can't write a single line of code. Or the strategist who sees the 5-year plan with crystal clarity, but then gets totally bogged down just trying to build the presentation. Their amazing ideas were always stuck in a line, just waiting for someone else's hands to build them. Well, until now.
And this right here, this was their #1 enemy, latency. You know, that agonizing gap between the aha moment and actually seeing, touching, or testing the real thing. For the thinkers, this delay was the ultimate dream killer. It was the friction that slowed everything down to a crawl. And this is exactly where AI changes the entire game for them. See, it's not a replacement for their insight, not at all. It's a supercharger for their execution. That product thinker, they can now generate wireframes instantly. That domain expert, they can draft 4 different articles in the time it used to take them to just write an outline. All of a sudden, they can go from idea to prototype in minutes, not months. Their hands have finally been set free.
But, as the thinkers are being liberated, a totally different story is unfolding for our second group. For these folks, AI isn't a tool, it's a direct threat to their professional value. So let's meet the operators.
Now, the operators are the essential doers, right? They're the people who keep the engines of business running. Their work is really centered on execution, taking a proven pattern, a successful formula, and just applying it again and again with some minor tweaks. Think of it as being an expert at implementing existing playbooks.
And this slide, this exposes the fundamental conflict.
See, if your core value lies in repetition, you are standing on some seriously shaky ground. And why is that? Well, because AI can repeat patterns flawlessly at a massive scale for almost zero cost. The leverage is shifting. The real durable value is no longer in the what of repetition, but in the why. That nuanced human judgment that knows exactly when to break the pattern. So let's make this real for a second. Take a hard look at your own day-to-day work and be honest with yourself. What's your ratio? How much of what you do is repetition and how much is pure judgment? Because, the answer to that question might just determine your entire professional future.
But look, this isn't just a two-act play. There's a third way forward, a path not just to survive, but to really truly thrive in this new era. And this is the way of the conductors.
These people aren't just managers or users of AI. They are the masters of this new universe. They're not competing with AI. They are orchestrating it. They see the entire system, they have deep domain knowledge, and, maybe most importantly, they have sharp, impeccable taste. They just know how to blend human creativity with machine intelligence to create something entirely new and powerful.
So how does a conductor actually work? Well, think of them like the maestro of a digital orchestra. They don't play every single instrument. Instead, they prompt the AI to generate, say, 10 different creative directions, 10 different melodies. Then, using their expert taste, they select the one that truly sings. They might even use a second AI to act as a critic for the first one. But the crucial part, the most important part, is this: the final nuanced decision, the one that creates the masterpiece. That is always human.
So there you have it, the thinkers who are being set free, the operators whose ground is shifting beneath their feet, and the conductors who are literally building the future. But look, this isn't just some tidy little framework. This is the new reality of work, and it's taking shape all around us, right now. So the only real question left is, where do you fit in?
This slide really redefines what good work even means anymore. Think of it like this. In the past, value was created by being the best chess player on the board. Now, the real value comes from being the chess coach. It's not about making every move yourself. It's about designing the system where a human player and an AI engine work together to achieve something that neither could do alone. You become the architect of that winning system.
And so we end right where we began, with you. The choice is yours to make. Will you be a thinker with your hands freed, an operator with your value threatened, or will you be the one conducting the whole orchestra? Are you going to follow the old rules, or are you going to be the one to write the new ones? The future is here. What will you create?
The idea that to really truly master AI, you might actually have to think harder than you ever have before.
And let's be real, that story is so appealing. I mean, think back just a few years. Writing a complex paper, drawing an illustration, debugging a chunk of code, it was a grind, right? It took real, deep skill. And now, it all feels kind of weightless. You type a few words into a box, something amazing pops out, and it feels like pure magic.
And so naturally, a lot of us arrive at this very neat conclusion. The era of intellectual heavy lifting is over. We don't need to struggle to learn those hard skills anymore. We've just outsourced the difficult part. But that's where the story takes a turn.
Because the reality is, well, it's the exact opposite. If you want to get anything more than just generic, bland mush from these AI tools, if you want to create something genuinely new and insightful, you have to understand your subject more deeply, more fundamentally than ever before.
So let's break this whole thing down. First, we're going to look at that super seductive myth of easy AI. And then we'll get into the hard reversal. This idea that the more powerful a tool gets, the more skill it actually demands from the person who's using it.
It really all comes back to the prompt. We keep hearing that prompting is the new skill. But what on earth does that even mean? Is it just about writing a really long, detailed sentence? No way. It's not that simple.
See, this is what's going on behind the scenes of a truly great prompt. It's not about length, it's about your understanding of the problem itself. You have to give it the right context, you have to pin down a super specific objective, you have to add the right creative constraints, and, this is the big one, you have to know exactly where this one little step fits into your much larger chain of thinking.
And that right there is the heart of it. AI isn't a shortcut around thinking. It's more like a mirror. If you want to get a smart answer back, you first have to ask a really smart question. And that means you have to have your own thoughts straight before you even start typing.
This brings us to the first big, irreplaceable human skill:
understanding structure and systems. We're always told, oh, just break the problem down for the AI. But that simple advice totally hides where the real work is.
Okay, look at this example. It shows the difference perfectly. If you just ask the AI, hey, what's the central argument here? You're going to get a perfectly safe, perfectly neutral, and perfectly boring essay. But if you do the hard work first, if you design what we could call the argumentative spine, your unique take on it, and then use AI to help you flesh it out, suddenly the final piece has your fingerprints all over it. It has your color.
So breaking down a problem isn't a lazy shortcut. It's a really high-level strategic skill. It requires a deep feel for how a system works. Without that mental map in your own head, you end up outsourcing the most important part of your job, and you risk, as one writer put it, digging your own intellectual grave.
All right, so beyond structure, there's another crucial human layer that AI just can't replicate. And that's this subtle but absolutely essential skills of judgment and taste.
Just think about this for a minute. The big challenge is no longer generating options. AI can spit out options all day long. The new bottleneck is selection. When an AI gives you 10 logos, or 10 headlines, or 10 solutions to a problem, and they all seem fine, how do you pick one? What's your standard for what's actually good?
That standard, your judgment, it doesn't come from a prompt template you found online. It's forged in the fire of actual experience. It's built through deep reading and long hours of work, through real, painful failures and the lessons they teach you. And, most importantly, through having your work corrected by experts who can see the flaws you can't.
And taste is pretty similar. Taste isn't just some abstract preference, it's a finely tuned sense of what actually works in the real world. And it only develops when there's friction between what you create and reality itself. You develop taste when you publish something and see how people react, or when you design a button and watch where users hesitate to click.
So let's be really clear about AI's role in all of this. It's an incredible accelerator. It can help you test 100 different ideas in the time it used to take you to test one. But that core strategic decision, deciding what is even worth testing in the first place, that responsibility is and will always be all yours.
Okay, so this all leads us to a final, really important choice. We have to decide what kind of tool AI is going to be for us. Is it just a crutch that helps us get by, or is it something much, much more profound?
Way back, the technologist Howard Rheingold came up with this brilliant term, tools for thought. He imagined computers as machines that could extend our minds, in the exact same way that an engine extends the power of our muscles. And that metaphor has never been more perfect than it is today.
Because right now, we're standing at a fork in the road. On one path, we use AI to extend our minds, to help us lift heavier cognitive weights, to analyze way more data, to explore ideas we couldn't before. But on the other path, we let our minds atrophy. We become these factories of what you might call illusory understanding, where we get quick answers and mistakenly believe that we have deep knowledge.
So a true AI power user, they aren't the person who's memorized 1,000 prompt templates. No, the real power user is someone who has built a crystal clear mental model of their field in their own head. They know exactly what they're trying to build, they know which parts require their human brain, and they know which parts they can safely hand off to the machine.
Ultimately, AI is just an amplifier. It's going to show you where your own thinking is wrong with brutal, incredible speed, but only if you're actually willing to look. Otherwise, it's just going to help you paint prettier colors over the same old mistakes. So the final question is pretty simple. Are you brave enough to look?